Welcome back to Easy English Pod. We're diving deep into more phrasal verbs today.
Right.
And I think this one's going to be really useful for our listeners.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We're going to be looking at the phrasal verb iron out.
Yes. Iron out.
It's one that you'll hear in all kinds of contexts.
Absolutely. From very casual to very formal settings.
So let's start off with the basics.
Okay.
To iron out literally refers to the process of...
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you're ironing clothes and you're making them smooth.
Right. Getting rid of those wrinkles.
Is he getting rid of the wrinkles?
Making everything nice and crisp.
Yes, exactly. So if
Yeah.
you're ironing out a shirt,
Yeah.
it's going to be smooth and wrinkle-free.
Makes it look sharp.
Exactly.
Ready for that job interview or that big presentation. Or maybe you're ironing out a tablecloth for a fancy dinner party.
Right, making everything look perfect.
Absolutely. Setting the stage for a wonderful evening.
But what's so interesting about this phrasal verb
Yes.
is that it also has this really powerful figurative meaning.
It does.
And so that's what we're going to be diving into today.
Okay, let's get metaphorical.
Let's get metaphorical, exactly.
So in a figurative sense, to iron out means to resolve problems or to smooth out differences or disagreements.
Okay, so we're taking that literal action of smoothing something out and we're applying it to...
Exactly. To more abstract concepts like problems or disagreements.
Like imagine you're planning a big project with your team at work.
Right.
And there are a few little disagreements.
A few kinks to work out.
A few kinks you got to work out.
Yeah.
So you might say, we still need to iron out details before we can move forward.
So we're not just talking about fixing problems.
Right.
We're talking about
it's more than that.
Really making sure everything is perfect.
Yeah, there's this idea of like careful and thorough process.
Absolutely.
Of going through everything.
Attention to detail.
Yes. Attention to detail, making sure that all the little wrinkles. All the metaphorical wrinkles are smoothed out.
It's like we're taking that iron to any metaphorical wrinkles in our lives.
I love that.
Just smoothing them away.
So let's say you're negotiating a contract.
Okay.
And there are a couple of points that you and the other party don't quite agree on.
Right. Some sticking points.
Yeah, some sticking points.
Some things to negotiate.
You would say, we need to iron out those details.
Exactly.
Before we can sign anything.
And it implies that you're going to take the time to carefully consider each point, discuss them thoroughly, and find solutions that work for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's not just about reaching any agreement.
No.
It's about reaching an agreement that is fair and that everyone's happy with.
Right, making sure everything is completely settled, no loose ends.
So it really emphasizes that kind of thoroughness and that precision.
It does. It's all about achieving that smooth, polished finish.
Okay, so we've talked about this idea of ironing out in the context of problems and disagreements.
Right.
But are there any other situations where we might use this phrasal verb?
There are definitely other situations where iron out comes in handy.
Okay, I'm ready.
And it might not always be about disagreements.
Oh, interesting.
Sometimes it's about refining a process.
Okay.
Or making improvements to something.
So we're still smoothing something out.
Exactly.
But it might not be a problem.
It might not be a problem per se.
Okay.
It might just be about making something even better than it already is.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure. Imagine a musician is working on a new song.
Okay.
They might say, we're still ironing out the arrangement.
So in this case, they're not necessarily dealing with a problem.
Right.
They're just refining.
Exactly. They're perfecting the song. They're making sure all the different parts fit together perfectly.
So all the instruments...
The melody, the harmony, the rhythm, everything flows smoothly.
So it's like they're taking out any of those rough edges in the music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're smoothing out the sound.
I like that, smoothing out the sound.
Well, it's perfect.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get a feel for the different ways we can use iron out.
Good.
But I'm curious about something.
Okay, what is it?
Are there any other verbs that are kind of similar to iron out?
That's a great question.
But maybe with slightly different meanings?
Yeah, there are definitely some verbs that have overlapping meanings with iron out.
Okay, like what?
Like, for example, sort out or resolve.
I feel like I hear those words sometimes in similar situations. So is there a subtle difference?
There is a subtle difference, and that's what makes English so interesting.
Yeah.
All these nuances. So sort out, for example, often suggests a more practical approach to solving a problem. It's about organizing things, putting them in order.
Like if my desk is a complete mess,
exactly,
I might say, I need to sort out all these papers.
Yes, you need to get everything organized and put things where they belong.
Right, so it's more about like the physical act.
It often is.
Yeah. Of organizing. Whereas iron out is more about the process of like...
It's more about the process of refining.
Discussing and negotiating.
And coming to a solution.
A more meticulous approach to problem solving.
I see.
And then resolve often implies a more formal decision
Okay.
or a final agreement, it suggests that a problem has been completely settled.
So if you were mediating a dispute between two companies,
Right.
you might say,
We have successfully resolved the conflict.
okay.
Or the
Just
issue.
resolve feels more official.
It does have a more formal tone to it.
And it implies that, like,
Yeah.
that's the end of the story, right? There's a sense of finality.
Yeah, whereas iron out is more about...
Iron out suggests a process that might take some time.
It's about that careful
effort
and thorough approach
to reaching a solution.
Yeah, this is getting really interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, because even though these words are similar on the surface,
they're all about solving problems.
they actually have these subtle differences in meaning,
nuances
that can really change how we understand the situation.
It's all about choosing the right word for the right situation.
Okay, so I think we've laid a good foundation
I think so, too.
for understanding iron out.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But there's still so much more to explore.
There is.
With this fascinating
phrasal
verb.
Isn't it?
It is.
You can use it in so many different ways.
So stay tuned, because in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to be looking at even more examples of how to use iron out.
Real-world examples.
The different situations.
That's exactly.
So you can really master this useful phrasal verb.
See you in the next part.
See you there.
All right, welcome back.
So we've talked a lot about what iron out means.
We have.
We've talked about how it relates to resolving problems.
Making things smooth.
Smoothing things out, exactly.
Clear rid of those wrinkles.
But I think it would be really helpful for our listeners to hear some real-world examples.
Let's bring it to life.
Yeah, let's bring it to life.
Okay, so
give me a scenario.
Let's say you're working on a project with a team, and your manager says, we still need to iron out the marketing strategy.
Okay, so in this case, they're not saying there's no marketing strategy.
Yeah.
They're just saying...
it's not quite perfect yet.
There are some details that need to be...
yeah, we need to refine it. We need to make sure all the pieces fit together.
Like maybe there's some inconsistencies. Or maybe some things that need to be tweaked.
Exactly.
Okay, so iron out here really emphasizes that idea of like...
precision and attention to detail.
Making sure that everything is aligned.
All those elements are working together.
Yeah.
Harmoniously.
Okay, let's move on to a different scenario.
Okay.
What about something a little more personal?
All right.
Like, let's say you have a disagreement with a friend.
A misunderstanding.
Yeah, misunderstanding, and you want to talk about it.
Right. You want to clear the air.
Yeah, you might say, we should get together and iron out this whole thing.
Exactly, and it shows that you're willing to address the issue, to have an open and honest conversation.
It shows that you're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And you want to find a solution.
You're committed to resolving the issue.
Yeah, to smoothing things over. Okay, like that one.
All right.
Give me another one.
How about this? A group of musicians is practicing a new song.
Okay.
And one of them says, we're still ironing out the arrangement.
What do you think that means?
Well, it probably means they have the basic song.
Yeah.
But they're still working on how all the parts fit together.
Like the different instruments?
Exactly. The guitar, the bass, the drums, the vocals.
Making sure it all sounds good together.
They want to create a smooth and polished sound.
So they're ironing out any of those rough spots.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They're making sure the music flows effortlessly.
Okay. I'm really starting to see how versatile this phrasal verb is.
It is versatile, isn't it?
Yeah, we've talked about ironing out problems, ironing out disagreements.
Yes.
Ironing out musical arrangements.
Marketing strategy.
Marketing strategies, exactly.
What else can we iron out?
Well, I'm thinking about something like a business deal.
Okay, a big business deal.
Yeah, let's say two companies are merging.
Right.
And they release a statement saying, we're still ironing out the terms of the agreement.
What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that they've agreed in principle to merge. But there are still a lot of details to figure out.
Exactly. All those legal and financial details.
Like who's going to be in charge? Right. How are they going to divide the assets?
All those nitty-gritty details.
Exactly. All those nitty-gritty details.
That need to be carefully considered.
And it sounds like it's going to take some time.
It will.
To iron out all those details.
It's a complex process.
It is.
It requires a lot of discussion and negotiation.
Okay, I have one more scenario for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
What about a writer who's working on a novel and they tell their editor,
yes,
I'm still ironing out the plot.
What does that mean to you?
I think it means that they have the basic story idea.
Yeah, the main idea is there.
But maybe there are some plot holes.
Right.
Or some inconsistencies.
Or maybe the pacing is off.
Yeah, or the characters aren't quite developed enough.
Exactly.
So they're still working on those things.
They're refining the story.
Yeah, making sure that everything flows smoothly. It makes sense.
So it's not just about fixing errors. It's about making the story the best it can be.
Yeah, it's about that attention to detail.
Absolutely.
Making sure that everything is polished.
Engaging for the reader.
And engaging for the reader.
Exactly. Yeah. So iron out can be used in so many different contexts.
It really can.
But it always conveys that sense of careful refinement.
Okay, so I think we've given our listeners
I hope so.
a really good understanding of how to use iron out.
A lot of examples.
In different situations. But I do have one more question for you.
Okay, fire away.
Does iron out always have a positive connotation?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, because I feel like we've mostly been talking about it.
Yeah.
In a positive way. Like reaching agreements and perfecting things.
Right.
But are there times when it might be used in a less positive way?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You're right. We often associate iron out with positive outcomes. But sometimes it can be used in situations where the resolution might not be ideal. You're right. It's not always a happy ending.
Okay, so can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's imagine a government is trying to pass a controversial law. They might say they are ironing out the details of the legislation.
Okay. But in this case, it sounds like they're trying to downplay the potential problems.
It might sound like they're trying to force a solution.
Yeah, or maybe silence the opposition.
Create the impression that everything is under control.
Right, even if it's not.
Even if there are still major issues to be addressed.
So it's like they're using iron out to make things seem
smoother. More agreeable.
Than they actually are.
Exactly.
So the phrase itself might sound positive.
It does.
But the context can make it feel a little bit
manipulative.
Manipulative.
Or deceptive.
Okay, so this is a really good reminder that it's not just about knowing the definition of a word.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how it's used.
Absolutely.
In different situations.
Context is key.
It is.
To understanding the true meaning.
And that's what makes learning English so fascinating.
But there are always new layers to discover.
Yeah, there are.
New nuances to explore.
Well, I think we've ironed out all the wrinkles.
All metaphorical wrinkles.
Of this fantastic phrasal verb.
Of iron out.
Yes, iron out.
So to wrap things up.
Okay.
Iron out can be used to talk about resolving problems, reaching agreements,
perfecting plans,
researching plans, and even smoothing out creative projects.
On our novels.
But it's important to remember that the context can really change.
Absolutely.
The meaning.
It can.
So pay attention to how it's being used.
And don't be afraid to try it out yourself.
That's right.
In your own conversations.
Practice makes perfect. And the more you use iron out, the more confident you'll become.
And the smoother your English will sound.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Into the world of phrasal verbs.
Until next time.
Keep practicing and keep your English smooth and wrinkle-free.
What kind of freight?